March 10, 1996. Copenhagen Airport. 6 Hells Angels members opened fire on Bandidos in the parking lot. 1 dead, 3 wounded. 7 months later, a rocket-propelled grenade slammed into a Hells Angels clubhouse party. 2 killed, 19 injured. This wasn't fiction. This was the Bandidos versus Hells Angels war, a conflict so brutal it spread across 3 continents and turned Scandinavia into a battlefield with military-grade weapons. How did 2 motorcycle clubs ignite wars that killed over 100 people worldwide? The answer lies in territory, pride, and an expansion that neither side could stop. The story begins in 1966 when dock worker Donald Chambers founded the Bandidos Motorcycle Club in San Leon, Texas. He named it after Mexican bandits who lived by their own rules. Meanwhile, the Hells Angels had already established themselves as the world's largest outlaw motorcycle club since 1948, dominating territories across the United States. For decades, an unspoken arrangement kept peace between America's major outlaw clubs. The Bandidos controlled Texas. The Hells Angels owned California. Neither crossed into the other's territory. But in the 1980s, both clubs began aggressive international expansion into Europe and Australia. That's when the collision became inevitable. The Hells Angels arrived in Scandinavia first. On December 30th, 1980, a Danish club called United MC became the first Hells Angels chapter in the region. They quickly dominated, forcing smaller clubs to either join them or face elimination. Between 1983 and 1985, the Hells Angels fought their first Scandinavian war against Bullshit MC in Copenhagen, killing 8 Bullshit members and establishing total control. By the early 1990s, the Hells Angels had approximately 290 members across 15 chapters in Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Finland. They controlled the drug trade, particularly amphetamines and cocaine. They seemed untouchable. Then came the Bandidos. In December 1993, a Danish club called The Undertakers patched over to become Bandidos Denmark. The Hells Angels initially permitted this under one condition. The Bandidos could have only 2 chapters and would not expand further. This agreement lasted approximately 3 weeks. The Bandidos began recruiting aggressively. Many were bikers who had been rejected by the Hells Angels or felt disrespected by their dominance. The Morbids MC in Helsingborg, Sweden joined the Bandidos alliance. The Outlaws MC also aligned with them. By 1997, the Bandidos had approximately 130 members across 7 chapters, directly challenging Hells Angels' supremacy. January 26, 1994. Helsingborg, Sweden. The first shot. Hells Angels-affiliated bikers attacked the Morbids clubhouse. Nobody died, but the message was clear. Expansion would be met with violence. 3 weeks later, Hells Angels member Joachim Boman was shot dead in another Helsingborg clash. Days after that, someone fired an anti-tank rocket at the Hells Angels clubhouse. Anti-tank rockets, stolen from Swedish army depots. Between 1994 and 1997, at least 36 break-ins occurred at military installations. The bikers stole 16 anti-tank rockets, 10 machine guns, and numerous hand grenades. This wasn't street-level gang warfare anymore. This was paramilitary conflict. The violence escalated throughout 1995 and 1996. On July 17, 1995, Bandidos Sweden President Michael Joe Ljunggren was assassinated. The Bandidos retaliated by firing anti-tank rockets at Hells Angels prospect clubhouses in Helsinki and Helsingborg, car bombs, drive-by shootings, assassination attempts inside prisons. 400 violent incidents occurred between 1994 and 1997. But March 10, 1996 marked a turning point. Both clubs were returning from a biker conference in Europe. When the Bandidos landed at Copenhagen Airport, 6 Hells Angels were waiting. They opened fire in broad daylight in a public parking lot. Bandidos, chapter president Uffe Lindenskov Larsen died at the scene. 3 others were wounded. A coordinated attack also wounded a Bandidos member at Oslo Airport within an hour. The Bandidos planned their revenge. October 6, 1996. The Hells Angels were hosting their annual Viking party at their Copenhagen clubhouse. Approximately 150 people attended, including members, guests, and local residents invited to improve community relations. Police patrolled outside, expecting trouble. Around 3:05 a.m., a shoulder-fired rocket was launched from a rooftop, 70 to 300 yards away. It penetrated the clubhouse's concrete walls and exploded inside. 2 people died: 39-year-old Hells Angels prospect Louis Lande Nielsen and 29-year-old Jana Krohn, a single mother with no gang connections who lived nearby. 19 others were injured, including Hells Angels Denmark national president Christian Middelboe. The public reaction was immediate and severe. Denmark's prime minister called the attack abominable. The justice minister visited the scene personally. Within days, the Danish government passed the Rockerloven, the Rocker Act, giving police unprecedented powers to raid clubhouses and arrest gang members. Similar legislation followed in Sweden, Norway, and Finland. But the violence continued. June 4th, 1997. A car bomb exploded outside the Bandidos clubhouse in Drammen, Norway. The bomb killed Irene Astrid Bekkevold, a civilian who was simply driving past. 3 days later, Bandidos member Bjørn Gudmandsen and 3 others were shot outside a restaurant in Litselege, Denmark. Gudmandsen died. Hells Angels member Vang Smith was later convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment. By mid-1997, both sides were exhausted. The war had cost them millions in legal fees, lost business, and destroyed infrastructure. Many older members with families wanted out. The death of 2 civilian women, Jana Krohn and Irene Bekkevold, had turned public opinion completely against them. Police pressure was relentless. Summer 1997. Danish defense lawyer Thorkild Høyer mediated secret peace negotiations. Both sides recognized the war was unsustainable. On September 25, 1997, Bandidos European President Jim Tindon and Hells Angels Europe President Bent Blondie Nielsen held a televised press conference. They shook hands and announced the war was over, the final count. 11 confirmed dead, 74 attempted murders, 96 people wounded. The true number may be higher, as several people disappeared during the conflict and were likely murdered. Both clubs signed a treaty dividing territories and agreeing not to open new chapters in Scandinavia. But Scandinavia was just one theater in this global conflict. In Texas, the war took a different form. Texas was Bandidos territory. When Anthony Benesch tried starting a Hells Angels chapter in Austin in 2006, he received warnings to stop. He ignored them. On March 18, 2006, Benesch was shot outside a restaurant by Bandidos National Sergeant-at-Arms Johnny Romo and other members. 2 Bandidos later pleaded guilty to murder in federal court. In Quebec, Canada, the war raged from 1994 to 2002. The Hells Angels fought the Rock Machine, which eventually joined the Bandidos in 2000. That conflict killed 162 people and wounded scores more. It included bombings, shootings, and attacks that killed an 11-year-old boy caught in crossfire. In Australia, tensions remained high through the 2000s and 2010s. In March 2013, the Bandidos declared war after Hells Angels ambushed Bandidos members outside a clubhouse in Melbourne, shooting Bandidos National Sergeant-at-Arms Toby Mitchell 6 times. Mitchell survived but lost a kidney, his gallbladder, and most of his liver. Today, the Hells Angels remain the world's largest outlaw motorcycle club, with chapters in 32 countries. The Bandidos are the second largest with presence in over 20 nations. The 1997 Nordic Peace Treaty lasted approximately 14 years until tensions reignited in 2011, though it never reached 1990s violence levels thanks to aggressive police intelligence operations. Both organizations are classified as criminal enterprises by law enforcement agencies including the FBI, Europol, and the Australian Federal Police. They're monitored constantly. Their leaders face regular prosecution, but they continue operating, recruiting, and expanding. The Bandidos versus Hells Angels conflict wasn't just a gang war. It was a multi-continental struggle for dominance that showed how outlaw motorcycle clubs evolved into sophisticated transnational criminal organizations. The rockets, the car bombs, the airport shootings. These weren't random acts of violence. They were calculated moves in a war over territory, drug markets, and respect that cost over 100 lives across 3 continents. The war may have cooled, but the rivalry never ended. And in the world of outlaw motorcycle clubs, old grudges die hard.